Konnichiwa from the Wrestle Kingdom to the Dominion. It's the Podcast Wrestling Society's review of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion 6.9 from Osaka-Jo Hall. I am your loving leader, benevolent host, Midwest Monster, and your airwaves assassin, Troy Adams. And I am flying solo here today because I'm the only one of my friends, really, that watches New Japan Pro Wrestling. Greg hates it, and Kyle watches it once in a blue moon when it's on Access TV. So I am just doing this one solo today. I am reviewing what I thought was a pretty darn solid New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view, I guess. It's, pay-per-view. So it was good. I liked it. Spoiler, before I get into the actual event, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. A lot of big things happened, by the way. Just for all of you out there that have been listening to me, and you listen to Monday's podcast, I feel like an idiot because I was like, I don't know why they call it 6.9. I don't understand that. Whatever. It was the date. To any of you out there who aren't as dumb as I am, they number their shows based on the date. So yeah, that's what it is. I'm a moron. I definitely want to start the podcast out by thanking everybody who's been following me lately on, or the podcast, not me, but I mean, I'm in control of the social media. So, thank you for everyone who's been following our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram lately. It has been, greatly appreciated, and I hope that, you all enjoy the updates that I try to post. I also occasionally tease upcoming shows and whatnot, so I hope you all have been keeping up with that. I want to give a shout-out to all of our new followers. It's been great. And not only do you follow us on social media, but I hope you definitely check us out on either Podomatic, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, whatever you listen to us on. And definitely check out our YouTube page. Subscribe to us on YouTube for sure. We put backlogged episodes up on there. I'm working on that. I have a day off tomorrow, so I'm hoping to hop on some Tube of You and upload some new vids. It's just, if any of you subscribe to the to Jim Cornette or Bruce Pritchard's YouTube channels, you'll see that it's clips or just whole backlogged episodes of their podcast that they have uploaded in video form. It's just a picture or two or a moving picture that they'll put up there along with the audio pasted over it. And that's what I do. I take cool clips of the show when it's, co-hosted stuff with Greg and I or Kyle and I put it up there. I'm going to put Friday's episode. It is a preview for Money in the Bank and Takeover Chicago. And we're putting that, I'm going to put that up on YouTube about the same time that I post our podcast. So definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel for old episodes, lists, and stuff like that. And definitely, on Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Podomatic, all that good stuff. Definitely subscribe to our podcast on there as well. Great content each and every week. We try to bring you the biggest and the best news from across the wrestling world, top 10 lists that are wrestling and MMA related. Oh, we also bring you top MMA news as well. I forgot to mention that. Mostly wrestling, but we do dive into MMA. Mostly UFC, but, some other smaller and Bellator and stuff like that. And, yeah, so definitely we bring that to you. And then we always do a little extra something on Fridays, be it, a review of an old event or a watch-along. We've been doing a lot of those lately, either with certain matches on YouTube or the WWE Network or something like that. We do watch-alongs with that where we commentate and kind of have a little fun with it, Mystery Science Theater style. If any of you are old enough to remember Mystery Science Theater. If not, throw it into your Google machine, check it out, look it up on Wikipedia, YouTube, all that good stuff. But anyway, yeah, we have some fun doing that, and we do some good event reviews, and it's always like really bad wrestling events that we can have fun with making fun of them. So, yeah, if you're into that kind of thing and you like to laugh and have fun with the podcast and whatever, definitely check it out. You'll enjoy our Friday content, and then of course, the Friday before a pay-per-view, Kyle and I will always WWE pay-per-view, that is. Kyle and I will always do a preview and predictions for the show, and then the Friday after said pay-per-view, we will do a review of the show and the weekend, the whole weekend, if there's an NXT show as well. So stay tuned for that. Next Friday, Kyle and I will be coming at you again with a review of Money in the Bank and NXT TakeOver Chicago. And that will go up on YouTube as well, because I seem to have Thursdays off this month. So I'm going to try to get as much content up on Thursdays and Fridays as possible. So definitely look out for that. And we appreciate all the new followers. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. But now, diving into what we all came here for today. Sorry, it took almost 7 minutes at the beginning of the podcast to kind of push our social media and our different platforms to listen to us on and upcoming whatever. But, I don't really feel sorry about that because, and I apologize every time I do something like that, but if you listen to other podcasts, Bruce Pritchard, 83 Weeks, with stuff like that, they always spend a lot of time, doing that stuff at the beginning of the podcast. I skip through like the first 15 minutes of every Bruce Pritchard, something to wrestle with podcast, because it's just, here's where we're going to be for live shows and buy my t-shirts for like 15 minutes. So I don't really feel too bad about, taking so much time here. I hardly ever do it. So, this is a little different for me. But getting to the reason why we're all here today, it is New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion 6.9 from Osaka-Jo Hall. I'm not even going to go over the sponsor here because it's a Japanese company I've never heard of. But a lot of big historic things happened at this show that we will dive into. The first historic thing is before the show was even announced. It was, or before the show was even going, I should say, not announced. Before the official start of the show, I don't know why New Japan always does this, where they're like, start time at such and such. They'll do a little something, or they have a pre-show match, and then there's just like a shot of the crowd and the arena for like 30 minutes, and then the show starts. It's kind of weird. I hope they change that very soon, because I think it's weird. Because sometimes, the pre-show matches aren't always spectacular. Usually it's like a throwaway battle royal that means nothing, or whatever. But in this case, it was actually meaningful. They had the new president/CEO of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Harold May. I was pronouncing his name wrong earlier, and if you check out the video about him on our YouTube page, I called him Mage. I didn't know the J was silent. I've never seen the name before, so there you go. But Harold May came out to let everybody know what his plans were for the future of New Japan, and let everybody know that he fully, he's a big fan of wrestling, whatever, let everybody know what his name is, and he said he wants to take New Japan global and all this other stuff. So it's already global, but it doesn't have the name recognition that a WWE does. I don't know if it's even possible to have a WWE-style name recognition in the year 2018 or beyond. But, they can have something similar to it, I think. Or, they could get as close as humanly possible, you know what I mean? But this seems like a big thing for New Japan. Seems like a big get. I hope this guy has big plans and big ideas, and he's not just all talk. But either way, he came out to the crowd and all that, and he is, I thought he was Canadian. Apparently he's from Holland, so, or he's Dutch or something. I don't know. He's in that area. Because, what's his name? Don Callis on commentary said something about that. But either way, he lives in New York. He's a Westerner, and he was like the CEO or president or something like that of a Japanese toy company for many, many years. So he knows quite a bit about Japan and marketing in Japan. So he's got that side down, and he lives in New York. I'm sure he does a lot of, work in America and a lot of, Western dealings. So I think that'll be a good thing for Japan, or New Japan, because they need that. They really need marketing in the Western Hemisphere. There's a groundswell. Obviously, there are shows that they have been doing in California and I believe Florida have done very well, but I think they can do better. And other than, right now it's the hardcore fans that like them. I think maybe they could get a better TV deal and I realize, and I'm not saying they have to get away from being a Japanese promotion, but certain ones like Okada and Naito and ones like that don't speak English. And there are quite a few. I mean, it's a Japanese promotion, so most of the roster is Japanese. So I think there could be... they had a translator on this show, not enthusiastic at all. And at first I was like, what the hell is that? Like, as I kept hearing a voice, like, talking over the stuff. And it took me a little while to realize, I'm like, oh, they got a translator for this show. And I think, I haven't been watching all the pay-per-views lately, but I think this is, if not the first time, it's one of the first times they have had a translator live on the show. So, doing his thing, because the commentary shuts up during whatever they're saying, and the translator talks over the Japanese talking, because Harold May came out and he first spoke in Japanese, and the guy was translating it live, and then he spoke in English, and obviously didn't have a translator for that. But they were doing stuff like that throughout the whole show. Whenever somebody was cutting a promo or something like that, they had a guy translating it, and I think that would be great if they had a more... I think they need to get a translator to hold on, or to be on the show consistently, and maybe get away from like an Access TV, because I know me in Cincinnati, Ohio, with Spectrum Cable, and I have the top cable package, I don't get Access TV. I don't know why. I think I should. I may have to call my cable provider and figure out what the hell is going on. But regardless, not a lot of people get it. They could probably, at this point, whenever their contract is up with Access, they could probably secure a better deal with, a random cable company. They're not going to get network, but, if even a smaller cable company, and they could advertise better, and in different places, really open up an advertising market in America, or in Europe even, Great Britain, because I think they do well over there too. I'm not 100% positive, but and Canada, there's a thirst for that kind of thing, a real alternative across the world to WWE. and I think New Japan could really be it. It is really an alternative in many, many ways.
Drama City Productions presents.
Hey, it's Ben here, host of the Regular Stories podcast, a podcast where I interview interesting people about their lives. These are not celebrities, they're not the elite. These are regular people, and these are their stories. You can follow us on Facebook at Regular Stories and on Instagram at Regular Stories. We are everywhere that you can get a podcast. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, just about everywhere else. Look up Regular Stories Podcast.
And I know I'm getting off of the topic here of the actual show, and I'm sorry, 'cause this is supposed to be a review, and it's not so far. I'm just kind of talking about different things that need to be done. But another thing, like I brought up Canada, they have a Canadian world champion now. Spoiler alert, I know. But they have a Canadian world champion now, and that could really open up the Canadian market. And he speaks English, and he's loved here in America, sells out, smaller venues here in America and whatnot. So America loves him. He's very marketable in different markets, so there you go. Now to the actual show here. Sorry to keep yapping and whatnot, but here we go into the actual event. I'm going to go through some of the matches here in order. There were a lot of tag matches per usual. They were all fairly good. There were a couple that I was like, whatever. They are what they are. But none of them were terrible, I would say. The show did open up with a tag title match, which was cool. It was the junior heavyweight tag team title. It was Suzuki-gun, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Sorry, it's hard for me to pronounce that name, but anyway, Kanemaru and Desperado versus Roppongi 3K, which is Sho and Yo. Suzuki-gun did their usual by any means necessary. They pulled out a liquor bottle and hit Roppongi 3K with it. One of the members of Roppongi 3K with it. They did everything they could, low blows, etc., etc. And it looked like Roppongi 3K was going to pull it out in the end. And obviously they had Rocky Romero with them at ringside. Didn't really help them out too much. But yeah, in the end, Suzuki-gun won. So that was, that was that. I don't really know what else to say about that. But Suzuki-gun retained. There was one of the only championships that actually stayed in place. I'm going to refer to cage side seats here for some of the, the finishes of the matches. After, let's see, pinfall win for Suzuki-gun. It was a whiskey bottle to the head and a leg trap pinning predicament on Sho to retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. So that's how that match finished. And like I said, that was one of the only championships that stayed all night. The other championship that stayed was not even defended that night, so that doesn't really count. Match number 2 for the night was Chaos versus, which was Switchblade Jay White and Yoshihashi versus David Finlay and Juice Robinson. Now, this one was a non-title regular match. This one was a fairly decent match. I like Jay White. I like his character. Wrestling, he's not bad either, but the selling point of him to me is his character. I really like it. Yoshihashi is pretty good, but they painted him as the guy who can't do anything right. Or he's always the one that gets the blame and chaos, and he's always the one that takes it, in the end, gets the blame in the end for everything. David Finlay and Juice Robinson looked really good in this match. My one critique with Juice Robinson is he swears like a kid on Call of Duty when his parents aren't home. It's kind of funny. He just swears and swears throughout his entire match, and it's a little ridiculous. But both of them look good. Juice Robinson actually wore tights for once, so that's a change. But they get the win by pinfall when Juice hit Pulp Friction on Jay White. So Jay did take the pin in the end. But all in all, a good match. I'm not the biggest fan of David Finlay, but he's not bad. He's starting to grow on me. But yeah, that was just a generic tag match. Next is another generic tag match. They just had like tag after tag after tag here, so bear with me. It was Suzuki-gun being represented by Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr., taking on the Team of Chaos, represented by Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano. I do not like Yano. I think he's the most annoying character in New Japan. I do not like. I'm with Don Callis on this one. I just not a fan of Yano. The match itself was, it was what it was. By the way, I forgot to mention times here. The first match for the IWGP junior tag titles was 9.5 minutes, and I'm rounding up here. The second tag match was 7.5 minutes, so not really much of anything. This one was 8 minutes 42 seconds. So again, not a whole lot to be said here for this one. Let's see. The match ends by submission with a no-hands version of the Ode to Jim Breaks from Sabre on Yano. So Yano ends up just saying that he quits and submitting that way. After the match, Ishii attacks Suzuki, and when they're halfway up the ramp, he just bolts after him and beats him down at ringside. Minoru evens the score, and they paste each other with slaps, and the Young Lions have to pull them apart. They fight all the way to the backstage area. They bust through a door and start fighting. Cameras don't follow them. We don't hear any updates about it through the rest of the night, so that's very different from WWE. I didn't really like that part. I liked the fighting, and they're building up this whole Ishii and Minoru Suzuki just want to beat the tar out of each other. They're not done yet. Ishii wants more of Suzuki, and Suzuki's always up for a fight. So I like it. I like this thing between them, but I didn't like the fact that they didn't follow them. They didn't give updates. Nothing. So because at one point through halfway through the next match, Don Callis even says something about they might still be fighting backstage. I don't know. So I didn't like that part of it.
Do you enjoy entertainment? Have you wasted money or time not knowing what to expect?
Well, look no further.
The Chewed Gum Podcast is your answer.
It's a plastic blast.
We are the Gruesome Twosome, and Seamus and Luke. We find the latest entertainment and give you our views and hopefully save you time and money. So come listen to the Gruesome Twosome and chew up recent entertainment. Who's listening to you, dummies?
Moving on to, but the rest of the match was, it was acceptable. Moving on to the next one is a three-way match, or a triple threat, whatever you want to call it. Hiroki Goto defends the Never Openweight Championship against Tai Chi and Michael Elgin. Now, again, this is another thing that I'm slow about because I don't understand. I don't watch a lot of New Japan. I don't understand how Japanese wrestling traditionally works. So it took me a little while to figure out this whole never open weight thing. I was like, what does an open weight mean? Anybody can compete for it? Okay, so what? Well, I didn't understand the significance of it because there's the heavyweight division, which is why they have the heavyweight title and then the heavyweight tag titles, and then the junior weight division, which is the junior heavyweight title, and then the junior tag team titles. And I didn't realize, unlike in WWE, right now they keep the cruiserweights segregated, but in WWE usually, anybody goes for any title at any time. They don't really, they jump back and forth divisions if they want to, stuff like that. Nowadays, it's a little different. They're trying to keep the cruiserweights segregated, it seems like, but there's only one set of tag titles and all that. In Japan, if you're in the juniors division, you're in the juniors division, period. The only time, and they make a big deal out of it when somebody jumps from the juniors to the heavyweight or, goes back to the junior heavyweights. So this never open weight title is basically saying it doesn't matter, heavyweights and junior heavyweights can compete for it, and it's fine. And it's some of the only times you'll see a match like that where the juniors and the regular heavyweights are competing against each other and they're mixing. So I didn't realize the significance of that. And they do have the Intercontinental title and the U.S. title, but those are mostly competed for by heavyweights. So they're kind of heavyweight mid-card titles, not necessarily junior heavyweight mid-card titles. That's more, if they want to compete for a mid-card title, they go for the never open weight title. Regardless, and then, there's a never open weight 6-man tag titles where it's the same thing. It's a mixing of junior teams and heavyweight teams, so they can make a 6-man. And it doesn't have to be 3 small guys or 3 big guys. But moving on to this actual match here, and I know, I'm sorry, I'm slow about picking up on all this, but I like Hiroki Goto. Tai Chi is like a guilty pleasure of mine because his character is so crazy. It's like an anime villain, And then I've always been a fan of Michael Elgin. So I was there, Ring of Honor, Survival of the Fittest 2011, I believe it was, where he was with the House of Truth, and he won Survival of the Fittest in Dayton, Ohio. It was great. I was there with my dad. It was cool. I've been a fan of Michael Elgin ever since. Getting to the match, Michael Elgin, Big Mike, who's in the best shape of his career, actually won by pinfall with the Revolution Elgin Bomb on Tai Chi. So he is the new never openweight champion. We've got, another Canadian there winning the never openweight title. I believe that's the first time. Could be wrong. Correct me on social media if I am wrong. But yeah, so one Canadian wins a title. We've got 2 more to go. Spoiler, but there you go. So that was cool. He can take that title over to, when he competes in Ring of Honor or wherever and kind of represent New Japan worldwide. I think that's great because, Hiroki Goto is great, but he's not going over to Ring of Honor hardly ever, or if ever. I don't know if he ever has been. He's not going over to these other places. He's New Japan, period. So he's not really advertising, that championship, that division, the company. But Michael Elgin did real well. Tai Chi, my favorite part of the match was he carries around this. If you're not familiar, he carries around a mic stand. He sings his own theme song as he's coming out, and he has it like this microphone implanted into this little handheld mic stand. And during the match, his gorgeous valet hands him the mic stand, and he nails Elgin in the head, he nails Elgin and Goto with it because the ref took a bump, and then he does this maniacal laugh, and it's hilarious, hilariously weird. But he ended up getting the Revolution Power Bomb, or Revolution Elgin Bomb, excuse me, and so Michael Elgin's the new never openweight champion. Then we go to the heavyweight tag team title match here. It is Los Ingobernables de Japan, Evil and Sonata, which is one of my favorite teams. They are defending the titles against the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. And the Young Bucks have a great match. Matt sells his back. He's been, they played it up on commentary that he's been having back problems for a while now, having spasms in his back and whatnot. Nick Jackson sells his foot because he goes for a move on the outside where he's on the apron and One of them, I think it was either Evil or Sonata. One of them is on the floor, and he goes to run up and kick him in the face. They move. He kicks the steel ring post, and he sells his foot for the rest of the match. It was great. And they did hit a super kick at one point. He hit it with the bad foot, but then he sold the foot after hitting it and whatnot. And it took him like forever to get up to the top rope to finish with more bang for your buck. They ended up winning the match with more bang for your buck on Sonata. But he sold it with one point. They went for the Indie Taker. He takes him in and he's a little hesitant. He finally goes for the springboard, and his foot hurts so bad he slips off the top rope. It was good stuff, so you can never say that they don't sell anything. There wasn't 500 super kicks. We only saw like 2 of them in this match. They finished with more bang for your buck for once. I thought it was really well done. It was a great match, and finally Matt and Nick Jackson become the heavyweight tag team champions. They've been a mainstay of the junior heavyweight tag championship scene for years and years, and now they're moving up the weight class to the heavyweight division. So I'm anxious to see who they go up against next. I want to see them take on some heavyweight teams. It should be interesting. I think they're good enough, and they're getting even better every single day. It was great.
Small Town Mentality Podcast with your host, Ben. A podcast about nothing and everything. A podcast where we get together with friends, drink beer, and see where the conversation takes us. We don't edit. We don't care what people say. It's small town people with a small town mentality. It gets offensive at times, lots of swearing, and a whole lot of not caring. Available everywhere you get podcasts. You can find us on Twitter at STMPod, on Instagram at STMPodcast, and on Facebook at Small Town Mentality Pod. We'll see you there.
The next match, we had 3 legends. One is kind of a legend. He's definitely will go down as a legend. But it was Hiroshi Tanahashi is the one I'm talking about. He teams with bona fide legends Jushin Thunder Liger and the debuting Rey Mysterio Jr., who is wearing a New Japan-inspired attire. He takes the New Japan logo, and he puts, instead of the lion, he puts his logo in it, and he puts, I think he just puts Rey Mysterio, Boyaka 619 or something like that around it, instead of what it usually has. And he paints his face under. He's wearing a mask that looks like the lion logo of New Japan. Then he paints his face under it to complete the look. It was a really cool look. He looked great in this match. Everybody looked great. But they took on the Bullet Club, being represented by Cody Rhodes, Hangman Page, and Marty Scurll. Cody Rhodes is wearing his wife's t-shirt. It says Bullet Queen. It was a little weird, but he looked great in this match. All these guys did well. I really did enjoy this match. It was a great 6-man tag. This one went on for 11 and a half minutes, rounded up here. I really did enjoy it. The end of the match was Cody Rhodes. Chaos broke down just everywhere, and I'm not talking about the faction. I'm talking about like just people beating on each other all over, ringside. Cody Rhodes hit Crossroads on Liger, and he got the win for the Bullet Club. And then he starts beating on Liger, and Rey Mysterio gets in and starts just like wailing on him and kicking away at him. He gets out of the ring, and then the Bullet Club takes off. So we could see something in the future, reigniting of that feud from WWE from years ago, maybe, Cody Rhodes and Rey Mysterio. I'd love to see them have a rematch in New Japan, I think. And Rey looked fantastic. He's quick as ever, throwing kicks all over the place, hitting 619, springboards, flying around. He's great. So he didn't lose a step. I think him and Cody could have a barn burner of a match sometime in the future in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So hell, even if they do it somewhere in Ring of Honor, I'd love to watch. I think that'd be the Ring of Honor debut of Rey Mysterio. But then again, I don't know if ROH can afford him. We'll see. But yeah, I forgot to mention the heavyweight tag title match. That was 15 minutes long, so it was just long enough for them to get all their stuff in, and it was really good. I know I put the match over a lot, but even if you're not a Young Bucks fan, definitely watch this match. I think you'll enjoy it. It's really good. But moving on, this next match was, man, so cringeworthy. It was a singles match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Challenger Hiromu Takahashi, who won the Best of the Super Juniors, took on the defending champion, Will Ospreay. This match, I say it was cringeworthy because Will Ospreay and Hiromu Takahashi just dropped each other on their head a couple times. It's just some stupid, crazy moves and just dangerous looking. I like Takahashi. Ospreay is he's okay. I'm not a huge fan of him because I think he's more like a carnival acrobat than a wrestler. But I don't absolutely hate him, and I think he's got a cool look. But either way, this match, it wasn't bad for the most part. It wasn't a whole bunch of hashtag flippy crap or hashtag dives. I mean, there were quite a few dives, and there was some crazy stuff, some off the wall stuff, but it didn't get real crazy until I'd say the last 5 minutes. This match went 20 minutes and 20 seconds. It was the second longest match on the card, I'll say that. It was good, and in the end, Takahashi hit the time bomb on Ospreay to win the championship. He is the new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. I remember he was the champ, I think, 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, when and he got beat at Wrestle Kingdom by Kushida. I remember that. So, yeah, so that happened. But yeah, I like Takahashi for the most part. But like I said, if I was a wrestler, I'd have my reservations about getting in the ring with either one of them because oh my gosh, if they don't hurt me, they're going to hurt themselves. And they kept talking about Ospreay doing that, trying to do that one-man Spanish fly off of the ring apron, and him hitting his head and messing up his shoulder. And they were just talked about the gruesome details of all of it, and it was insane. It's dumb. He had his shoulder taped up through this match. It was not a good thing. And then Kushida does some. I realize the juniors do crazy stuff, but this just, I don't know. I don't want to be dropped on my head if I was a wrestler. That's all I'm going to say. Now is the moment a lot of people have been waiting for. It is the Intercontinental title match between Tetsuya Naito and a crazy-ass Chris Jericho, man. This match was crazy. They beat the tar out of each other, went through tables, just beat on each other. There was a lot of sloppiness to this, I will say. The match wasn't clean looking, but then again, I'm not complaining about that. It shouldn't have looked clean. This was like a fight, and I think it was Bruce Pritchard was talking before about, and I agree with him on this. I think everybody, in wrestling kind of agrees with it, that the match doesn't have to look super pretty, because then it really does look like a coordinated effort, and that's exactly what you don't want a match to look like. You want it to be, I mean, obviously it's coordinated, obviously these guys are working together, but you don't want it to look like that. You want it to look like a simulated combat, so it was good. I liked it for what it was. And then Jericho hits a low blow and hits a code breaker for the win. That was his second code breaker of the match. There was one earlier where Naito, it was crazy, and their coordination on this, like their timing was great. Naito went for a flying forearm. Jericho jumped up, caught him out of midair. Bam, code breaker. That was not the end of the match. It went on. Jericho wore some, he had some face paint that looked like the Crow, and then he wore, some weird-looking leather jacket with some design on it, and then he wore a scarf and a black, fedora. So he looked kind of like what he did at the Festival of Friendship, but, darker. Instead of all silver, it was all black, and he wore black leather pants. I'm not sure I was super into that, but either way, it looked cool. The match was good. Jericho is now a 10-time a 10-time Intercontinental Champion, and we have a Canadian as a second Canadian for the night as a champion in New Japan. So there you go, and this is another title switch for the night. But let's see, after the match, Jericho, not content with his victory, attacks Naito after the match as well, whipping him with his belt until Evil makes a save. The King of Darkness runs Y2J off with his own belt. So they got into a brawl. Jericho dropped the belt. Evil picked it up, went to whip Jericho. Jericho slides out of the ring, takes off. So we may see Jericho versus Evil next. But this kind of let you know there will be a rematch between Jericho and Naito. So good on that, man. There's a lot of I think this is a good match between these two, and it's a good issue for them to keep going. And yeah, I like that Jericho is lending his star power across the world to Naito, who is a big star in his own right in Japan, Mexico, and he's growing as a star in America. I think this will put him on the map more so here in America by, he's the guy taking on Chris Jericho over in New Japan. So, and I think people will pay attention to him more, might get more eyes on him and LIJ by extension. So it's great. And now we see Evil has another feud as well. Maybe he'll be a stopgap for Jericho before he takes on Naito again in a rematch. That's just my thinking. Next, we get to the 2 out of 3 falls match. Oh, by the way, that match, Jericho and Naito, was 17 minutes and 16 seconds.
The world isn't a paradise, and you'll find out why with each episode of Aggravated Hour, a podcast created to release aggravation while being entertaining. This show isn't for the faint of heart. This show is not for those who think most people are good. This podcast is to showcase how aggravating life can be. We hope you laugh, but really, who cares? Find us anywhere podcasts are available. Aggravated Hour.
But next, we get to the no time limit 2 out of 3 falls match for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It is Kazuchika Okada with Gedo in his corner, taking on Kenny Omega with Kota Ibushi in his corner. This match went on for 1 hour, 4 minutes, 50 seconds, so just 10 seconds shy of an hour 5, excuse me. Okada won the first pinfall by reversing a Rainmaker into a Rana pin. It looked like Omega was going to go for something, but Okada reversed it, got a Rana pin, 1, 2, 3. That's the end of it. And then Omega ended up winning the second fall by pinfall by hitting a One-Winged Angel, which he finally hit it to win that. And then Kenny Omega wins the third and deciding fall by pinfall with a One-Winged Angel, becoming the new IWGP Heavyweight Champion. He is now officially the third Canadian champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's crazy. They finally gave the belt to a Westerner, and AJ Styles and whatnot have held the title, so other Westerners have been champion, but it's been a while. He ended an historic reign by Kazuchika Okada. He was the champion for a long time. It was, I believe, 700, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm looking it up right now. 720 days for Kazuchika Okada. It was crazy. He won the title at Dominion 6.19 in Osaka-Jo Hall. He defeated Tetsuya Naito for the championship. Yeah, so if you go back and you look here at the last few champions, it was Okada, held it for over 2 years. Naito held it before that for 70 days, so a little over 2 months. Before that, it was Naito, held it for almost a year, 280 days. And then before that, it was AJ Styles, held it for half a year, I would say, so 144 days. And before that, it was Tanahashi, held it for 121. And Styles held it before that for 163 days. So AJ Styles really, and I mean, you look back before that, it's all Japanese. You know, you go back before Styles, Okada, Tanahashi, Kojima, Makabe, Nakamura. Just so, finally a Westerner is holding the title again. Kazuchika Okada cemented himself as the longest reigning combined champion, beating out Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's held the title 4 times for a combined 25 defenses and 1,516 days. But it was a great match, probably their best match yet. I enjoyed it. I think you will too. But yeah, after the match, the Young Bucks come to the ring, and Kenny makes a point of hugging them before he even receives the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Kota Ibushi joins them in the hug as well. So there you go. And then Omega cuts a show-closing promo in Japanese, first before switching to English, saying that every day people tell him that he's not the best, to play it safe, to stay calm and be tranquilo, but that's not his way. He makes his own rules, lives life the way he wants, with his friends and lovers by his side, and that way he can do anything. But alas, he's tired, he almost died, and he must bid us adieu. Before he can leave, Cody Rhodes comes back out, heads about halfway down the ramp before deciding that he doesn't want any part of this, and leaves. So there you go. Cody beat Kenny, and I guess it's been made official again. Kenny Omega versus Cody Rhodes in San Francisco at the Cow Palace. When they come to San Francisco, it's gonna be a big show. We'll have to see how that goes. Definitely looking forward to that rematch. I will watch it on pay-per-view. I hope you do as well. And definitely, if you like this review, go check out the show if and when you can. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion 6.9 from Osaka-Jo Hall. That is all I have for you. Definitely tune in Friday when Kyle and I will preview NXT TakeOver Chicago and WWE's Money in the Bank 2018 live from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. Gonna be a big weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Big things. And here, Kyle and I's hot takes on the events from this coming weekend. And then Greg and I will come at you with all the news from the wrestling and MMA world on Monday. Hopefully, he can stick around through the whole show this next time. And we'll come at you later. Goodbye and good night. Bang.